Hi everybody, it's Lindsay from Flashcards. This evening I wanted to talk to you about flashcards and how you can make them and why you might use them. So our exams are coming up in May, June time, and there is a lot of information to be learnt, and it can sometimes feel a little bit overwhelming. So what I have found helpful is to put some of it onto an individual card specific to that topic. So for example, I've got one here on my card book for charge. So charge is equal to current times time. So I've put the main equation in the centre of the card. Over on this corner I have my equation triangle, which means that I can rearrange this equation any way I want. At the top I've got the units for each of these things. I've also got the definition of charge, and over at the bottom corner here I've got a little bit more of a description. So this is a quick reminder of the important facts about charge. Now, charge is relatively easy to do, but one of the things that comes up that people find difficult is calculating the number of electrons that are flowing with a certain amount of charge. So on the back of my card, I have a little bit of extra information. So number of electrons is the total charge flowing divided by the charge of one electron, and very helpfully I've got the actual amount for the charge of one electron here, which is 1.6 times 10 to the minus 19 coulombs. So that comes up as an extra question, particularly in higher tier papers, and it's one of those things that is really useful. So that's one way that you can use a flashcard, is to put an equation on it with all of the key points. Another thing that I have done is to write out the different types of stores of energy for physics. Sorry, not in the screen. So I've got definition of each one, very short and sweet, but it's enough to quickly remind myself of what's going on. Flashcards can be used in this way in maths for equations as well, and they can also be used in chemistry to show the different calculations that are involved, or the different types of chemical bonds and their physical properties of the materials that bond in that way can also go onto a card. If you have a subject like English, then it might be key terms go on here. So what is the definition of a noun? How are common nouns different to abstract nouns? And giving an example of each. Or you might have a prepositional phrase on there. So how is a preposition different to a prepositional phrase, and why might we use one or several prepositional phrases in a sentence? Just for your information, prepositional phrases show the location or timing of something that is happening in a sentence and can give you that little bit of extra detail, like under the bed would be considered a prepositional phrase. So I might say something like, I found my dog Sizzle under the bed chasing the ball which had rolled under there earlier. So we have two prepositional phrases that tell us where she was and what had happened to the ball, and that gives us more detail in one sentence. The ball is regularly under all objects. I spend a lot of time on the floor trying to pull them out from underneath furniture. It's great. You can also use flashcards for simple prompts. So, for example, if you're learning a history essay, there are key terms that you need to know. Let's see, Battle of Hastings. There are some key facts. So the Battle of Hastings was in the south of England. It was near the town of Hastings, but not actually in it. So on my flashcard I might write Battle of Hastings, near Hastings town. William of Normandy landed in the south of England and immediately burnt Hastings. Harold Godwinson, who was currently King of England, was marching from the north, where he had just defeated the Vikings, to join William in battle, and his army was already tired, they were already wounded, and they had used a lot of their supplies, but they had the advantage of being at the top of the hill. I might put on there that William's army were unable to push through the shield wall, because the Saxon army had a very strong shield wall, and at the top of the hill all they had to do was stand still and defend, and William's army couldn't get through it for about half a day. So I might add that to my flashcard, and then I might continue with something like William performed a rout. So what he did was he pretended that he was retreating, and Harold sent part of his army after them because they were retreating. They were in a very vulnerable position, and then William's army turned around, surrounded that group of soldiers and killed them, and then repeated the process several times until Harold's very strong shield wall was non-existent. And that's how he won the battle. So I would put something like shield wall too strong, William performed a rout, army pretended to retreat, and Saxons attacked and were surrounded and killed several times until they were defeated. So if you are making a flashcard for a particular subject, you need to think about the key points that you want to include and don't just write everything about it. So I may not write on the card exactly how many people were in each army. We don't actually know the answer to that on both sides. There's records, but they're not particularly accurate, and they debate quite a lot. But I might put the key people involved. So Harold Godwinson, he's Saxon, he was supported by members of the English nobility, and then I might have William of Normandy, who is from France and was previously promised the throne by Edward the Confessor before he died. So those are things that I would put on there. You can also do the same with English essays, but I might do this a little bit differently in that I would put the starting point of each of my talking points or paragraphs on there. So if we were describing an essay about a book, for example, Frankenstein is one of the ones that is studied at GCSE, then I might put things like the book is written as a series of letters. I might put that it's actually written from the point of view of somebody talking to Frankenstein rather than actually him explaining it himself. And the person that talked to Frankenstein is writing letters to his sister who is at home in England. So I probably include those details on one part of the card, and then I would do it chapter by chapter. So the first chapter is all about this captain describing his own life, his own childhood experiences. So I would put that he was alone. He didn't receive a formal education until he was around 10 years old, that he read voraciously after that point, and that he used to study with a group of friends and discuss literature and politics. And then chapter 2 is all about introducing Frankenstein, how Frankenstein's early life mirrored that experience quite closely, but also how both characters had a strong female presence. So for Frankenstein, it was someone who moved into the house and lived as his sister but wasn't his sister, and for the person that he's speaking to, it was his actual sister who he's now writing to. So I talk about the parallels of the sisters and the fact that they both felt a strong affinity towards a female character. And then later chapters I would put the Arctic adventure that they're on. So he is in the Arctic, they're exploring, they're not really finding anything, and then they see a strange figure in the distance, and that strange figure is pulling a sled, and they seem to be totally unaware that the ship is there. And then later they find a very wasted, exhausted character on the ice who starts to tell his story, and we discover that he is Frankenstein, and the figure that we saw is his monster who has run away, and Frankenstein feels like his life is over and he will never love again. So that might be some of the key points that I put on there in shortened form. Flashcards don't work for everybody, but they're worth trying to figure that out. So lots of people might say, yes, they're great for equations and maths, but I really can't get my head around how to use them for history. And that's absolutely fine. But if you find that they're useful, then it might be worth speaking to me or to somebody else to find out if there is a way that you can get information onto a card in a useful way for you, because you might find that actually you can do it once you know how. So that's worth trying. As for actually making flashcards, they can be made from anything. They don't have to be one of these little books, although this is quite handy. These are a good size. They come with a little plastic backing, so that keeps them quite tidy, and I can wrap the elastic around them to hold them closed. So this fits into a pocket of a blazer or into your bag quite easily, but I find that they pull off the edge of the ring a little bit. This book was a whole £1 in Asda, so it's not going to break the bank if you want to give them a try. The other option is to just take some blank paper. I've cut an A4 sheet in half, so I've got quite large pieces here, which means for something like an English essay or a history article, then you can get more information on here and you can have your keywords, your prompts at the start of each talking point. And if you're feeling enthusiastic, you might want to buy something like this. Nice bright colours, big selection of colours usually in one of these books, and you could cut these into 4 and have a set of cards, and you could have different colours for different topics. Again, not very much money. You'll get them in the stationery section of somewhere like Poundland or Asda or Tesco, or even on Amazon. That one I think was a Poundland option. So try and figure out what works for you. If you know that you are dyslexic, for example, particular colours might be easier for you to focus on. So I have one student who likes all of their paper to be blue, and that reduces the visual stress for them when they're reading. So all of their flashcards are also blue, because when they're preparing for an exam, their stress levels are already higher, and we don't want to do anything to tire them out before the exam. So blue makes things easier, and it's a bit calmer for them to read, so that they can recap material before they go in. So that's something to think about. Some people like to go all out with fancy pens and lots of bright writing and lots of multicolours, and other people like it all in one colour. It doesn't actually matter from a teacher's point of view which way you do it, as long as it works for you. So I really don't mind. And you could try doing a card in colours, and you could try doing a card in just one colour and see what works best. And once you have a system, stick with it. There are lots of other ways to make revision notes, and if flashcards aren't the way to do that for you, then that's absolutely fine. You might find that getting yourself just a delicate little block of post-it notes and putting one fact on a post-it note and sticking it somewhere works much better for you. If, however, your entire house is covered in post-it notes, you might want to think about the other people in the house. They might not enjoy mass equations in the bathroom. So think about where you're putting those. You might also find that for you it's all about mind maps, and there are lots of different options. So that giant block of colour paper, you could put a mind map on each side of one of those pages about a topic, and that could include all of your key points. Or if you're more technologically minded, then you might want to try software like Coggle, which is a mind mapping tool that you can use online. I think you get 3 free mind maps to try it out, see if you like it, and then from there there's a small fee to buy the full thing. But if it works for you, then that's very worthwhile. If it doesn't, you've only done the free trial and it doesn't cost you anything, just a bit of time. I wrote a blog last year about different revision techniques, and I can link that to this video so that if you want to look at the different ways to revise, you can go back through those, and I'm going to be making some more videos about all of these techniques so that you can get into the way of things now before we're too close to the exams, so that hopefully when your exams arrive you have a full set of revision notes and are good to go. Let me know if you have any questions about that, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Bye.